Hello, everybody. Hi. Welcome. Welcome to another episode of Intercultural Conversations. Again, extremely excited about this episode as well. Today, actually, we will be talking about communities. Yes, I think me being from India, from a culture that's actually very collective, community is something that I've taken for granted because you naturally build a community in India with your big families and your big social circles, your big groups of friends, and you never have a deliberate sense of creating a community. You always have it around you, usually. I'm generalizing here. But I think I understood the importance of building a community or having a community rather, when I actually left home, when I went outside of India. So the importance of deliberate community building came to me when I was away. And I built a community called Sisters from Different Cultures, and we brought women from different cultures together in that community. And it not only helped me, but I can assure you it also helped many other women as well. So, while on this journey of actually traditionally building communities without even realizing it, and then moving into the internet space where, with the social media boom, community building became so almost normalized. But it did come with its challenges as well. Now we are moving into a space, into a new age of the internet with the Web3. And the aim or the goal of this episode is to understand what that means for community building and what that means for even women on the internet, right? Because with Web2 and with not only on the internet but in general, women have been in a relatively vulnerable position. So we are hoping that with that shift from Web2 to Web3, those are some of the challenges that can be solved for women and for communities at large. So that's why I'm not actually an expert on this. That's why I have amazing and inspiring guests who come in and share their thoughts through this conversation. And today we are joined by Aparna. Aparna is the co-founder of Koto app, but her career has been quite spectacular. She has been one of the lead contributors for Times of India. She was also the programming head at Z5, which is an OTT platform here in India. And now she's the co-founder of Koto app, which is building a community for women for Web3. So an interesting space to be in, and especially an interesting space to be in as a woman also. So I'm just going to add Aparna right away. I'm really excited for her to join. Aparna. Hello.
Hey, hi.
Hi, Aparna. How are you?
I'm good, very well. Looking forward to this evening.
Me
What a
too.
way to spend Friday evening, right?
Yes, what a way to spend it. And I really kind of, your entire career trajectory, I kind of minimized it into a couple of seconds. So if there's anything that I've missed out, please feel free to add.
You've been very kind, and really, it's not about what you've done in the past, but really what you do today and what you do tomorrow that defines you. So I guess past is just to learn from your experiences. So yes, thank you so much for the lovely introduction.
You're welcome, and thank you. Thank you so much for being here as well. And so yes, let's dive right into it. So Aparna, you and your wonderful team, y'all are building Koto app, which is a community-based platform, which is actually being built for Web3. So I'm going to get into that about Web3 and about the internet and what does that mean for women in a couple of minutes. But can you please just shed some light on why is having a community important, especially for you, and especially for women, that is. And what does that mean for women in an Indian context as well?
Yeah. And Pratha, who better than you to understand really, what communities mean, because you've built such a powerful one and it's so inspiring. And I've heard about your journey and really what triggered all of this. But my 2 cents to add to it, see, a community is all about sharing of stories and coming together, right? A community empowers each member in it. As humans, we are essentially social animals. How really, what is social media? Why did social media empower all of us? Because it really helped all of us to connect with each other, right? I mean, while it has had its own perils because it got misused over a period of time, the very essence of social media was really to bring all of us together and to be able to connect with each other in a lot more meaningful ways, right? I mean, your friends, your long lost friends, you found on Facebook, you found, you made alumni groups, and so much happened, right? But then, really, over a period of time, so much changed, and we really lost what social media was supposed to be. But what can a community do for you? A community is your pillar of strength. It's like for women, it's like your gang of girls that you can always tap into when you need emotional support, when you need any kind of support, right? I mean, look at a community of young mothers. You can't always run to the pediatrician when your baby's colic or your baby's wailing at night, right? You just tap into, you ask a friend, or if you're part of a community, you just ask that community, and then more often than not, you'll get really good responses and really tangible solutions that you can use. So, uh, for women, I think communities are important because they actually help us all break very archaic patterns also, right? Empowered women in communities help other women, right? I mean, that empowerment could simply be because I became a mother a little earlier, or I was a little more privileged and could get some education early on, which I can then help, pass on my knowledge to other women. Or simply it's just a peer community where we are all contributing to helping each other, right? So really, the basis of a community is to be a pillar of strength for each one of us, and more so for women. We are stronger when we are together, right? It's just
Definitely.
that. And then in a community, everybody has that strength, and everybody has that collective strength that we can all leverage.
Definitely. And I think that holds true to my experience as well. Because the moment I felt something that I could not handle, I always look to go towards a community or towards a group of people who probably have had the same experiences as I have had, right? And that has been one of the motivators for me to also build a community, because I know other women have definitely faced that. And I think with the internet, the world kind of became smaller. So if you did not have anybody you could relate to in your immediate peer circle, you had somebody who's 2,000 miles away who's had the same
Ab-
experiences or you could relate to.
Absolutely.
So I think
Ab-
that is definitely one of the biggest advantages that we've had with social media, for sure. And but it also came with a lot of its disadvantages. It came with a lot of its challenges as well. So I would not call the internet a safe space for women, and any parts of society that are vulnerable or people that are vulnerable. I don't think internet is the safest space for that. Just to give our audience some perspective on this, there's out of all the cases that are registered for cyber stalking and cyber bullying, more than half of it are the victims of more than half of it are women. Right? And the same holds for cyber harassment as well. In general, there's a huge umbrella of what cyber harassment means. 41% of the victims there are women too. So
Yeah.
technically, it's not a safe space for women. Do you think that will change anytime soon because of?
It's difficult to predict that attitudes will change, right? And which is
Hmm.
why at Koto we believe, oops, sorry, we believe that, sorry, that was a mishap. We
Hmm.
believe that if you cannot change the world, but we can create a new world for you, right?
Hmm.
Because the world changes when attitudes change, and when attitudes change, when there is change from within for all of us, right? And yes, the internet has not been a very safe space. It continues, unfortunately, to not be a very safe space. You spoke about a stat. I'll add to that. There was a survey conducted by Plan International. It's a big NGO that works in women empowerment, and they have said that over 58% of young girls, young women have been harassed online, have faced some sort of abuse online, right? That's more than, that's more than 50% of us on digital media. I'm not even counting those who haven't adopted social media or digital media as yet. 1 in 5 girls out of that have left or have either reduced their usage of social media because of that. And that's so unfair, right? Just because of the poor experiences you have, just because someone else is being nasty, you are deprived of something which is so empowering, which can really free you, right? 1 in 10 have changed the way they express themselves. So really what happened, right? You're saying, okay, I will not post, I will only be a passive user, I will at the most engage in a like, I will not write anything, I will not tweet anything because I know I'll be judged, I know I'll be trolled. So it's your gender, unfortunately, that is not playing to your advantage, but is actually creating a disadvantage for you, which is insane, right?
Yes.
The survey that they had, Pratha, actually said that on 39% of those they surveyed said they were harassed on Facebook, 29% on Instagram, 14% on WhatsApp, Snapchat 10, Twitter 9, and TikTok 6. Now tell me what bacha kya, right? बचा क्या, right? Where do you hang out? Where can you go and really maybe just have a good time with your friends, or maybe just hang out with your friends, or just use social media for knowledge, for empowerment, for anything, yeah, for all time pass, right? If this is what
Hmm.
you're going to be faced with, DMs, right? DMs, which otherwise are such a powerful tool to connect with each other, is one of the biggest sources of online
I'm
abuse.
scared to
Whether
look at
it's
my DM.
image, whether it's image-based violence, whether it's verbal violence, whether it's harassment, or whether it's violent threats. Unfortunately, DMs, which are supposed to be the means to directly connect with somebody, is what is misused possibly the most. And who are at the receiving end of all of that? It is women. It's so unfortunate, right? And which is why the solution that we have is a place that is completely free, that is completely empowering, that strengthens you from within to be able to face all of this, whether in real life or whether on other social media platforms, right? So that really is the genesis of Koto. Why Koto even came into being, because looking at all of these stats, looking at a lot of personal experiences so many of us have had, we realize that a safe and a free space for women, right? That makes sure that you have the feeling of being secured and being in an environment where you're not judged, where you're not trolled, where you can really freely be yourself, freely laugh out loud without having really anybody what's the need of the hour.
Yes. Actually, it triggered something in me when you were quoting those statistics and saying, where then do women go to find that safe space? I myself, on a very personal level, have found that there are certain things I deliberately don't put out because, with the fear of being trolled, with the fear of being judged, with the fear of being said something that is going to stay with me probably for the whole week.
Absolutely.
Not everybody is a Zen
Absolutely.
person that I'm going to forget that one statement that some random person made to me. It's not possible always, and then that stays with you. So then in a non-virtual space, the woman is facing the similar kind of difficulties, and then that percolates into the virtual space as well. So it just feels like a very trapped environment. And now,
Yes,
especially
absolutely.
with, during the COVID times, everything moved online, etc. And, women started using, I'm assuming, the internet more too. And then to be faced with this while you're using the internet for your own good is almost unfair. So, so
Absolutely.
what I'm also hearing is you think then, um, because most of the problems also stem from these Web2 based platforms like Facebook and other social media platforms that you mentioned. So Web3 can solve this, is what you're saying? Because I feel at the end, on the other side of the laptop or the phone is a human being, that's sitting there. And yes, these social media platforms are a medium through which they are communicating at the end. So then does Web3 solve for that? Or the human race has to change on a whole?
So, Pratha, Web3 is all community controlled, right? The
Hmm.
decisions on a Web3 platform are all taken by the community. Now, whether it is moderation related decisions, whether it's feature related decisions, whether it's an appeal, whether it's a reported, a comment reported or a post reported, or whether it's, whether it's an appeal against something that a user may have made. Uh, and I'll explain to you what we are trying to do at Koto, right? Koto will be a completely moderated environment because, like like you rightly said, at the end of it is a human, right? And it's really not about a man or a woman. The entry into Koto app happens after facial recognition and multi-factor authentication. So, firstly, you're sure that who has entered the app is definitely a verified human female. So that takes care of the authenticity of who is there. And one of the big problems of social media actually stems from the fact that a lot of this is anonymous, right? You will always realize that the ones sending you these posts, sending you these lewd messages are those who have their profiles logged, or are just anonymous random people who are only following people and have no followers themselves. So you don't even know if they exist in real life, right? They are just fake profiles created just for whatever, for some fun, or just to harass someone, or just to whatever, just because you can get away with that anonymity, which is firstly completely taken care of and completely not possible on an app like Koto. When once you're in the app, the moderation is AI led, and the second level of moderation is with the community creators, because each community has its own set of rules, right? Has its own set of contexts. So the moderation in that community, the onus of that lies with the community creator, who is empowered with a lot of backend tools so that she can make sure that she's taking the right decision. Beyond that, there's also a panel of moderators who are community creators and users from within the app, right? Who
Mm-hmm.
contribute to decision making. So, to any moderation related things, and any appeals that come. So, one, decision making is completely decentralized. Therefore, right, it does not rest with the platform. Unfortunately, today the huge problem with most social media platforms is, even if posts are reported, no action is taken over that, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
even if an action is taken, you as a user who may have reported it never really come to know, right? I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, I have reported so many lives, right, which have been semi-pornographic in nature, that are really, really abusive, right? That never really gets answered. I have reported this on most social media platforms, because somewhere whenever I have this sort of an interaction, or somewhere I have this sort of an event, I've always made it a point to raise that flag. But nothing really has ever happened. I continue to see such things just cropping in my feed. So, one, making sure that there is enough moderation, making sure that it is community led moderation, right? And
Mm-hmm.
therefore, web3 allows one to form communities, and each member of that community is empowered and plays a role in decision making. So yes, the traditional Web 2 problems where the platforms controlled everything, right? The platforms
Mhm.
controlled all algorithms, the platforms controlled all decision making, the platforms decided this was right, this was wrong, oh, this is fake, and promoted some handle, and some handle lost followers, right? And then all of that was a dark hole. Nobody really knows how all of this operates, right?
Mhm.
In Web3, all of this is transparent, participative from a community point of view, and completely decentralized. So yes, the solution to that is Web3.
Yeah. So the solution exists, and that makes me hopeful. And I
Yes,
think then the advantage with Web3 is that there are multiple gatekeepers. Right? With Web2, there's only that one centralized gatekeeper who is defining the rules without your consent.
absolutely.
So you're not participating in actually defining what the rules for the community are, which I think is
Yes,
relatively different, where everybody decides what the rules are largely. And then there are multiple gatekeepers of that. So the trust kind of gets divided as opposed to the trust being much more centralized, is what I believe.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. And but the other thing that the other side to this is usually technology or any kind of shift that happens within technology as well. The advantages of it usually stop with the upper part of society, the privileged of the society. So do you think something like Web3 can be advantages to people who don't come from privilege? Do you think the advantages can percolate into at the grassroots level? So somebody, for example, who's my house help, who may not understand what Web3 is even, do you think at some point there can be an advantage for people like that, or women like that, especially because they are very vulnerable too?
Yes, absolutely. See, the advantages of technology, right, are here to stay. Let's
Hmm.
forget for a second what is the technology really behind that, right? I mean, as common users, do we really care about words like algorithms and, very fancy words like recommendation engines and things like that? Really nothing, right? So, as users, let's keep the technology aside. Let's look at what benefits it brings to a user, right? And I'll give you an example of Koto as an app. On Koto, every woman can come and form her own community, and of course join the n number of communities that exist on the platform, right? So
Hmm.
if you're talking about marginalized women, right, who may for whom from basic literacy to financial literacy, right, to upskilling or to job opportunities, right, or to
Hmm.
maybe just information on her legal rights or many other things, right, education related opportunities, so many different things in a community sort of a setting. It's not just in one way information that goes to her, but a lot of participation from her and many like her, right, is
Hmm.
possible in a place like this. So
Hmm.
yes, uh, Web3 is run by communities, and in our case, it is communities of women, right? And like I said earlier, empowered women are those, right, on whom the onus lies to make sure that we bring everyone together, and it is our onus to make sure that we reach out to as many. Now, whether
Hmm.
these are marginalized women or whether these are, women like us, I mean, we may come from a place of privilege, but that doesn't mean it, we have everything that we need, or we've always been able to express ourselves. We possibly have been able to express ourselves more freely, but
Yeah.
it's only comparatively more freely, right? I
Yes.
mean, you will find enough number of articles, research, and there's a BBC journalist who has spoken about, a top BBC journalist who has spoken about how she has been badly abused and trolled on social media, right? So it's
Hmm.
not just a problem with marginalized women who may unfortunately not have so many opportunities. The problem also lies at the top end of the spectrum.
Hmm.
Communities can really make sure that all of these, can be equaled, and there's a lot more opportunity for outreach in that sense, right? So
Yes.
on Koto, we have communities that, interculturalist like you, someone who works in the space of women empowerment, someone who wants to bring women across the globe together. We have communities from someone like you, we have parenting experts, we have beauty experts, we have finance experts, we have health experts, right? We have counselors, we have therapists, educationists, we have actors, artists, performers, right?
Yes.
All of these women are coming together on a platform so that they can share a lot more, much freely with more women, right? And I mean, the potential is what? Half the planet, right? We are half the planet, and all of us together at one place congregated, we are a force to reckon with.
Oh, definitely. And there's just something so beautiful about how, or something that I can't explain also actually, because like a group of women coming together in that sense in itself just feels so safe. So you can imagine
Yes.
half of the women from all over the world coming together can even change so much, right? Change so much, not only at a grassroots level, like you're mentioning, but also, at scale as well. And yeah, I mean, even women in positions of power have faced a lot
Yes.
and have felt restricted and don't feel freedom still. I don't feel completely free. I still want to say so much more that I stop myself from saying. But of course, hopefully, then when you are in the comfort of the same gender, and I've always wondered if men feel the same way. Do men feel equally safe? Right? If there's a large community of men that come together, and but that's a conversation that is very separate from this. So yes, hopefully when Koto actually scales and is live, that is what we will see. Half the planet on the platform.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And the endeavor will be to bring in as many creators, will be to bring in as many women together, because believe me, there is something in it for everyone, right?
Yeah.
Once you become part of a community, you realize what a community really can do. It's not really about the vanity metric of followers or
Hmm.
subscribers, because at the end of the day it's still one way communication. It's like broadcast communication, right? All
Hmm.
that you can do is just put a comment or maybe a like, and then that's what it is. But when you're in a community, you're all actually equals, right? It's as good as we're all sitting in a room chatting, sharing with each other, sharing our happiness, sharing our joys, sharing our experiences, sharing what I know, right? There's so
Hmm.
much that we learn from each other just by having conversations. And the whole idea of a community is to be able to have these free conversations, conversations that are candid, conversations that are authentic, conversations that are original, that we can really learn from each other and derive happiness from each other. So yes, I
Yes,
mean,
and
community.
definitely. Definitely. And I also feel, communities are very solution driven. So even if
Yeah.
there is, of course, you're sharing all of your happiness, joys, etc. also, but then if I've noticed that if a problem is shared, suddenly community goes into solution mode. Okay, there's a problem statement, let's get into
Yes,
solution mode.
absolutely.
That doesn't normally happen with
Absolutely.
social media in general when you're
Absolutely.
passively consuming content.
You, I'm part of this community of fantastic women
Hmm.
who help each other with everything, right? From doctors in the locality to tailors in the locality to sometimes parenting solutions, right? So the spectrum is so huge that we actually end up helping each other on so many different things. And the beauty is that the community is never silent. It's like the
Oh,
sun
no.
never sets. Someone is always online, and believe me, there will never be a day when you have not got a response to your solution, so response to your problem, right? So
Hmm.
whether it's a solution, whether it's quickly sharing numbers, whether it's just telling you that okay, this is fine, it happens to all of us all the time, this has happened
Yeah,
to
the
me
reassurance.
before, right?
Yes.
The reassurance is just so great. And I mean, this is actually a community of moms that was formed when the children were back in play school, and just continued to be the children are teenagers now,
It
but it's a
evolved.
community that have, yes, it's evolved, but and the children will now be out of school, but the community is actually saying, hey, we should still be together because we are 120 of us, and this is a great gang of girls that I always want to be in touch with. And really, that's the power of communities, right? Now multiply this by the scale this country has, and like I said, half the planet, right? If all of us women can come together, just imagine the immense strength we collectively have.
Oh, definitely. I have goosebumps. I really look forward to that. I, just a bit of another tangent also. Like for me as an interculturalist, I see my my job is to kind of nitpick a bit on differences. right? कि इस कल्चर में ऐसा होता है, इस कल्चर में ऐसा होता है, इनकी ये differences है, इनकी ये gaps है. This is how we can come to common ground. But I've seen with female-led communities, no, the culture throughout the world is very similar. The feeling of wanting to be empowered and to empowered, especially when women come from certain kind of privileged countries, it holds same throughout, and that's amazing to watch as well. So I usually actually end all of my interviews with this question, and the same question is for you, Aparna. If there's one thing that you would want to change, okay, and that's something that could be within you, not necessarily outside of you, or just even outside in your environment that you're seeing, if there's one thing that you would want to change, what would it be?
That's an interesting question, Pratha. And when you talk of change, right? I mean, there's this line that has always inspired me, which is, be the change you want to see. So, really, I cannot really go about changing the world, but I can do my own bit by making sure I have changed and I have evolved every day. If it is one thing that I want to keep changing and keep evolving in me, is I think my awareness and my own perspectives, right? Because I think they have to evolve with time. I have to become a larger human every single day and not be just bound by what I have learned till date or what I know about, right? So I think changing myself with evolving times, making sure that I am a lot more receptive than what I was yesterday, making sure I think I am a better person than what I have been, I think should be my own quest to change. And if that's what I want of the world, right? If we want, see, empowerment is not something that you can go asking for. It has to first start with you believing in the fact, right? You believing in the fact that yes, I can and I want to, and that's what. If you think you are, I am oppressed and ye mere saath hua hai, and this is what, the world is unfair. The world will always remain unfair, right? But if you can start with empowering yourself from within, half your battle is won, right? And that change from within is what I want in me every day. And I'm hoping that change from within is what will translate to what is outside. So, yeah, wow. I hope that. But thanks. I think it's a good question that is, that one must introspect on.
Yes, this is a very introspective question, and because I'm in that process of introspection as well, but I think it's one of the best answers we've received on the show. And like you said about constantly evolving with the times that are evolving, and I think that's a complete reflection of what you're doing with Koto as well. With the evolving times, you are building a platform for those times as well. And thank you for that. And thank you so much, Aparna, for joining me today. I know you have a very busy schedule usually, and thank you for taking the time and joining me for Intercultural Conversation.
Thank you so much, Pratha. It's been my pleasure. I think the work that you're doing and your own mission is so inspiring that it's always a pleasure to speak to you, and I look forward to being definitely part of your community and learning a lot more. And yes, now the wait is to launch the app and bring in so many of you wonderful women on the app. So
yes. Do we have a date yet, by the way? Just just so that people know. No date. Too soon to say.
Yeah, no, about June end, we should be there about
Ah,
June end. But yes, if you are part of the Koto Community Creator Program, which is our accelerator program, you get first access. So if
yes.
you do have, and I'm sure you do have great friends who are creators, who are experts, subject matter experts, domain experts, creators, artists, they should become part of the accelerator program, because two key things that we are doing there, Pratha, are one, uh, learning the basics of Web3, because if you do want to understand what future technology is and really what is in it for you, right? And like I said, let's
Mm-hmm.
leave the technology aside, but as a creator, as an expert, how can you leverage what Web3 has to bring? You have to know about it. So yes,
Correct.
there's a lot of learning about Web3 there, and learning about community building, because building a community is very different from simply
Being
having
a follower
followers
base.
or
Awesome.
or or having a subscriber base, right? So
Hmm.
what building a community really means is something that we are, that we are mentoring on. So it's definitely worth being part of the community
Yes. So
accelerator program.
I will share the link on my stories. And where else can they find the link? They can find the link on the Koto app's
On
bio.
the on the Koto Apps bio, and even on our website eve.world.
Okay. All right. I'm going to put all of that information in my
Yes,
stories as
that'll be,
well. And you can
yes.
follow Aparna on her LinkedIn as well as on her Instagram account as well. So thank you. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Aparna.
Thank you
And
so much.
have a
Yes,
great
thank you. You
evening
have
and
a
a great
wonderful
weekend.
evening. Yes, same to you and to all those wonderful people who are watching us live.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you
Yes.
so much for joining in.
Thanks. Bye
Bye.
bye. Bye.